They killed, give me Isaiah 14 and 21. They did the same thing to my people. So you said that they put millions of my actions. Yes, you said, sir. Should a murderer go to jail for murdering? Absolutely. Should a thief go to jail when he steals? Absolutely. Should a robber pay back the money he robbed? Absolutely. So why shouldn't the white man pay for what he did? That's right. One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog.
I'm in a hell of a hole, was never expected to grow. Just obstacles set in the road, that a result of me selling my soul. The story I'm telling is cold, but yet it's what everyone knows. The white man's the devil is known. America was never our home. Only a place of captivity, safe facility, hating, disfigure me. They claim that I'm lazy, be killing me. Maybe this slavery draining my energy. 400 years and counting. The trail of my tears is countless. The fact that I'm here is astounding, but I can't wait till this shit is surrounded. Ready to tangle my king and the angel, be ready to rap. Crack in the sky, nuclear missiles and make it official. I'm capturing every cracker surviving. Put them all in chains where they need to be. Slavery for me. And let the whole world see that with them in the cage and safer in the streets. Put the dog on a leash. Get resolved for the beast. 144, get the ruler show, we could all be at peace. As soon as the trumpets are sound, your kingdom we busting it down. The only way justice is found, the time for your judgment is now.
You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog.
Look, ain't no remorse in my blood slim. It won't be no compromise. Now it's time to feed the worms. Watch his body turn to flies. I clutch iron while you trust the lies. The next Glock I buy gon' be Gen 5. I get it customized. And sending shots off like farewell. Praying payback come back around like a carousel. Still remember your Honda's words ringing in my head like bells. Said you in his body, you fit a Lord, fuck the cartel. Triangle choke, apply pressure to the game like I did Vondale. Payback's a bitch in a dress, she a bombshell. Revenge is served cold, I just hope they make an oxtail. Glock fresh out the box, I swear it got that new car smell. Made myself a target in a world of mad shooters. There was design fire for our babies to pass through it. And the day of our king's reign, I'll be overzealous. They bought my jealous, I bought brand new parabellums.
One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
Test, test, test. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2. Should be good. Give me just a moment. Let's see. Count, we good. Most High Christ, just clap it up. Then right, Shalom, Yahweh, Shemal, Shabrak, and Thumb to all the brothers. Yahweh Shamar, Allah Thun, Shemal, shout all the sisters. It's the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Start out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. On the Commander Junior Hana. This is the Friday night Lashawan Qadash class, priest and officer of 1,000 Dabawan holding it down. My brother, Officer 500 Yanazar. Right? Lashawan Qadash class, Hebrew class. All right? You know what I'm saying? So everybody, this is, of course, is the, we always get into the cultural aspects in this class. If you have any questions related to culture, related to the language, this is the class where you can ask those questions. Okay? As far as today's topics, we're going to continue from where we left off last week. We did get into a little bit of a breakdown of some of the words involved with the Day of Atonement. I was going to go more fully into detail on it, but it's really, no, I don't think it's really necessary. It's kind of it's just a scripture. I think we can kind of learn some more concepts as opposed to doing that, because this suffices just to know the main words that are used when it talks about the Day of Atonement, right? So we might come back to that another time, but for today, we're not really going to get too much into that. What we are going to talk about, however, so I want the prologue to Ecclesiasticus again, right? And I want just a little bit. And I want just trying to remember the precept. Bear with me. Just a moment. Ecclesiasticus 13 and 15. We'll do that next. Actually, you don't got to go to it just yet. 13 and 15 and 16. Ecclesiasticus 13, Ecclesiasticus chapter 13, verses 15 and 16. So we'll read those two things. Ecclesiastes, yeah. So one is Ecclesiasticus, the other one is Ecclesiastes. No, my bad. They're both Ecclesiastes. Correct. Salakia. Still on prepositions and possessives. We're gonna get into some vocabulary words. We're gonna start with a little bit of alphabet review real quick, and then we're gonna get into these possessives, prepositions. So I should have left that. We'll do possessives, prepositions and possessives, and then we'll talk about prepositions and possessives with no root. And we'll do the vocabulary. Okay? Those are the things we're going to talk about today. Let me move some of these artifacts off the screen. Like I said, y'all got any questions, man, just type them into the chat. Let me bring the young man in. Hey, Shalom, how about you? Qatar? What's going on, brother? Can you hear me, young man?
Salakia. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Barakatah.
Shalom. You hear me out?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Thank you.
Most High in Christ. All right. Got any questions you already know? You just go ahead and just say Salakia. And you know what I'm saying? And we'll go just like that. So let me remove some of this stuff that might be in y'all way. Make sure y'all can see the board nice and clearly. You know what I'm saying? With no obstructions. All right. So now, prologue to the book of Ecclesiastes, if we could, Yanazar.
You want the prologue?
Khan, sir. Let's start there.
Come on, come. This is the prologue for the book of Ecclesiasticus. I guess it's about the 5th paragraph.
Khan.
And it reads.
Oh, actually, you know what? Start that from the top. Start it from the top. We're going to go to the paragraph you're talking about, but start it from the very top real quick so I can just clarify something.
Kind of one concept. This is the prologue for the book of Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha.
Mm-hmm.
This, Jesus, was the son of Sirach.
Right. So what is the first part of that says? What? The prologue to what?
To the book of Ecclesiasticus.
To the book of Ecclesiasticus. Does it say anything else other than the book of Ecclesiasticus? It just says prologue to the book of Ecclesiasticus, right?
It says the wisdom of Jesus, the son of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus.
Right. Some people call this book
Sirach.
Right. Or Sirach. Sirach. That's not the name of the book. The reason why they gave it that title or they gave it that name is because as the brother just read, it says this Jesus was the son of who?
Sirach.
Go ahead, read on.
Come on, come. And grandchild to Jesus of the same name with him.
Mm-hmm.
This man therefore lived in the latter times after the people had been led away captive and called home again.
Right. So, long story short, you'll see in some apocryphas, they'll call it Sirach or, Sirach, however you pronounce it, right? Don't call it that. Okay. Fake Israelites call it that. Young men call it that, which of course, we got some young men. But if you want to be more seasoned, you know what I mean? You'll never hear a captain, you'll never hear a general say Sirach. You know what I'm saying? It's Ecclesiasticus. Ecclesiasticus. Okay. Ecclesiasticus. Let's see if we can get a little background on the word. And then I'm going to have you read the rest of it in just a moment. All right. Who addresses an assembly, right? Right. So let's see ecclesiastical or ecclesiastic. Right? It just means a speaker in an assembly or church. We just know that a church is what? A school. So the speaker in an assembly or a church is what? Would then be what? And who is the person who speaks in the classroom? There we go. Right? So the word Ecclesiastes, ecclesiastical, ecclesiasticus, all of these words, they just mean a speaker or teacher or speaking or teaching. Think of it like teachings, right? It comes from they say it comes from this word. Let's see if we can find that, right? Let's see if we can find it. Mm-hmm. No sweat. I want to see if I want to see if I can find this Hebrew root word. They're saying that there's a Hebrew root word that it comes from. I want to see if I can find it. Let's see. They spelled it like this. We're all right on the board. Let's see if we can find it. This is what they wrote. In this etym online for the etymology, they wrote, obviously we know this is not really Hebrew. But I'm curious to see if we can find the real Hebrew. Right? So let's see. Let's go to our quad. Hold where you are.
Where did that word come from?
That's what I'm trying to find out. That's what I'm trying to figure out. We look at the etymology, that's what they say. They say that that's the Hebrew word. Right? We're trying to see if we can't find the real word, if that is in fact the real word. Never trust each other. Uh-oh. H6953.
H6953.
And once again, the Isupk case, we don't just talk, we know what we're talking about. All things always come together. 86953. Look that up in your blue letter Bible. H6953. Right? They have it as let's hear the devil say it. We me and Yazar, we want to hear the devil say it.
And you know that.
Let's hear it.
Strong's H 6953. Koheleth.
Koheleth, right? Now the actual word is quahalath, right? Which comes from the word quahal, which means assemble together or gather together, a gathering, right? Quahalath is then says, right, abstractly preaching, right? Preacher, it just means teacher. That's what it means. Or they have it here in the outline of biblical uses, collector of sentences, public speaker, speaker in an assembly, right? Name by which Solomon is designated in the book which bears his name, Ecclesiastes. God. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. You see the connection here? In the King James Bible, they call Solomon preacher. Right? But knowing that a church is a school, there's another way in that same sentence, or in that same definition, where it says lecturer. Where is a lecturer? Yanzo, you said it before. Yeah, a lecturer is a teacher. He's in a classroom. So really, it's not Koheleth, right? Really, it's Quahalath, right? And really, it means teacher. Right. The teacher. So now, the Ecclesiastes, this is Quahalath, is the word it comes from. So Ecclesiastes, ecclesiastical, ecclesiasticus, all just relate back to that word, which means teacher, right? Or one speaking at an assembly, public speaking. When we go to camp, what we are doing is ecclesiastical, right? Go ahead, please.
Okay.
Use the mic.
So, like a question, sir. Who actually wrote the book of Ecclesiastes? Is that Solomon? It is Solomon. Okay, so they're just translating what Solomon wrote.
You mean the book of Ecclesiasticus?
Yes.
No, I don't believe Solomon wrote Ecclesiasticus. He wrote Ecclesiastes.
Okay.
But I don't know if he wrote Ecclesiasticus.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Because like when you read the prologue, it's like they're translating something that's older than them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not the authors of it. They're just doing a translation from the Hebrew into the Greek.
It very well could be. It very well could be. Now, Solomon, they're in the times of the Greeks. Solomon's way before that. It could be writings from Solomon. That's a good question. I'll get clarification. That's a good question to ask one of the generals or captains, you know what I'm saying, when we get with them, right? I'm not too sure, but you got to be careful because, like I'm saying, this word ecclesiastical or Ecclesiastes just simply means teacher or teachings. Like, you know what I'm saying, things you would say at a public assembly. Almost think of it like wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Like a lecture. There you go. Like a lecture. So it could be Solomon's words. I'm not too sure. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction. We'll definitely get clarification and understanding on that, right? But nonetheless, we know that all of this was written, by men inspired by the Spirit of the Most High. Nothing in the book of Ecclesiasticus contradicts anything in the book of Ecclesiastes at all. It just corroborates everything that's in that book. Come. And if anybody who's curious, what was that? What was it? H6.
It's H6953.
Come. Yeah, this is H6953. If anybody's curious. H6953. Right. Come.
It's saying on my phone, it's saying the site can't be reached. That's strange. I never ran into that.
God.
Never downloaded the app. Not that. I know when you download that app, that's not the move.
Oh yeah, don't download the app. Yeah. For all y'all listening, do not download the Blue Letter Bible app. Just use the website. The website, I don't know how in 2022 they got that backwards, but the website is way better than the app. Period.
Usually what I do when I just go to search tools, and then everything that I need, I can proceed from there. But it's not. I'm pushing search tools, and it's saying the site can't be reached.
Yeah. No sweat. Just keep trying to refresh it.
Cut on a con.
No sweat, right? But in the meantime, if you could, Bob, we get the go to the part of the prologue to Ecclesiasticus we usually read.
Cut on con, sir. Now, wherefore, let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us wherein we may seem to come short of some words.
Right, we're talking about translation here. Pardon us where we seem to come short of a few words. Go ahead.
We have labored.
We have what?
Labored.
Put in some work. Go ahead.
To interpret.
They had to interpret it. They labored to interpret it, to take it from one language to the next. Go ahead.
For the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue.
Same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue. English, Greek, Spanish. Go ahead.
Have not the same force.
They don't got the same force. So you can talk about the Israelites all you want. You can complain about the Israelites all you want. You can say, why y'all got to learn that Israelite stuff? Why, you know what I'm saying? Like, why y'all speaking that language? Right? All of that. But the Bible tells you that you have to go to the source language to really grasp everything that's being said. You understand? In Isupk, we understand this Bible because we don't ignore the Hebrew. We study the Hebrew. Okay, read on.
Come on, calm. And not only these things,
and not just what you're about to read. Go ahead.
But the law itself.
But what?
The law itself.
But the law itself. You know what I'm saying? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. The law itself. Go ahead.
And the prophet.
And the prophets. You know what I'm saying? Ezra, Nehemiah, Job. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
And the rest of the books.
And the rest of the books, 1st and 2nd Kings, you know what I'm saying? Samuel, all of that. Go ahead.
Have no small difference.
Have no small difference. If it's not small, so think of when it says no small, it's saying it's not small. So if it's not small, it's what? Large, right? So it has a large difference. Go ahead.
When they are spoken in their own language.
Right. And that's why this class is so important. That's why, you know, as amongst all our other classes is important, but that's why we really dedicate ourselves to understanding this Hebrew. And why you should you know, push yourself as well. At home, you should really, really try to get a grasp of this Hebrew. Ask questions, you know what I'm saying? Practice, so we can get better, so we can start speaking this consistently and fluently. All right. Now jump to Ecclesiasticus 13 and 15, Baba Kashar.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 13 and verse 15. Every beast.
Now I'm bringing this out again to make sure that people understand the ISUPK. We get called names or hate group. We're racist. Whatever you say we are, say that about the Bible. Say that about God, because we're not doing anything that we're not reading in the Bible. It is not our fault that people go off their emotions and feelings instead of going off what the Bible says. Right? We're going to read this portion of the book of Ecclesiasticus, right? For people who think we're preaching hate and separation, and how could we do that? Read it from the top, Yanazar.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 13 and verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
Every beast loveth his like.
Every beast loveth his like. What does that mean?
Every beast love his own kind.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Every beast loves his own kind. Every beast loveth his like. I don't want you to
All right, sure.
Every beast loveth his like. Every beast loves his own kind, right? Now, you hear that and you think to yourself, okay, it's probably talking about like just animals. And it is talking about animals. But let's not forget, what does the Bible call the other nations?
Beasts.
They're beasts too. They're beasts. The oppressor is a beast. Elam is a beast. Moab, Ammon, they're beasts of the field, right? So it says, every beast loveth his what?
His like.
Loveth his like. Go ahead.
And every man loveth his neighbor.
And every man loveth his neighbor. All them other nations, they love their people. All them other nations, they love being around their people. Look at Elam. Elam go out their way to move and live amongst each other. No matter how rich they get, they don't say, I got to get away from people that look like me. Moab and Ammon, no matter how rich they get, they don't say, I got to get away from people that look like me. A so-called oppressor, we know for sure he don't say, oh, when I get some money, I got to get away from people that look like me. Who's the only people that do that? So-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians. Whenever we get money, the first thing we want to do is get away from everybody that looks like us. We don't even want to date people that look like us. We don't want to be. It's so bad. So a brother gets some money. If he goes somewhere, it could be another rich black person, and he get a little uncomfortable. He want to be the only rich nigga in the place. He want to be the only black mascot, the token. You feel me? But that's something that we, Zephaniah 2:1 says, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired. Because as the scripture is saying, everybody else love the people. Go ahead. It's like it, sir. That's right.
They influence that we got money, you should move out.
Right. Come. Right.
You never hear that talk about no other nation.
Come.
And if I may,
Never, ever. Yeah,
I remember way back in the day, like, when I was a kid, and even before I was a kid, like the superstars like Willie Mays, Sugar Ray Robinson,
right.
These kind of people, Louis Armstrong, they lived like in 1 West 126th Street. Ray Charles and what they call the Rayettes or whatever the hell they was called.
Yeah, the Rayettes.
They had an apartment in there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, and this is us when we were family still.
Right, that's right.
Before 1964.
That's right.
The people lived in our community.
That's right. Damn right. That's a heavy point. Hope y'all saying, man, the water, right? But now we read it in this Bible. Can't nobody tell me nothing, and it's not an ISUPK. We read it in the Bible where the Lord is saying, guess what? Everyone else loves each other, right? A beast is supposed to the pigeons ain't supposed to be with the eagles. You know what I'm saying? The snakes ain't supposed to be chilling with no, you know what I mean, with birds. No, snakes want to be with snakes. Pigeons want to be with pigeons. Crocodiles want to be with crocodiles. That's natural. Read on, Yanazar.
Come on. Verse 16. All flesh consorteth according to kind.
All flesh consorteth according to kind. If you are Black, Latino, or Native Indian, you should love Black, Latinos, and Native Indians. According to the Bible, we're what? The real Jews, the real Israelites, okay? So if I just put it in one word, I would say what? Israelites need to love Israelites. Right. Israelites need to be with Israelites and nobody else, because that's what the Bible says, okay? So when we get into all this language and everything, understand this is our culture. This is another way for us to get back to who we are, to build up that love for each other. You know what I'm saying? It's absolutely necessary. So Barakatah Yahweh Shah for Commandant General Yohana and the ISUPK, you know what I'm saying, for bringing this out and giving this to us so we can start loving ourselves, man, loving our people. Most High in Christ. That's the end of verse 16, bro.
Come on.
Most High in Christ. Let's get into it. Oh, please go ahead.
Salaki. And a man will cleave to his like.
I knew there was that's the part right there. And a man will what?
Cleave to his like.
A man will cleave to his like. What does cleave mean?
Hold on to it.
Right.
Take hold of.
A man will cleave to his like. Right? That's what we should do. We should cleave to our like. A Black man should be like, I don't feel comfortable not being around Black people, Latinos and Native Indians. You know what I'm saying? We should literally, get a vibe when there ain't enough of us around to be like, wait a minute, I don't know about this. Because that's how the other nations look at us. As soon as they see some of us, they're like, oh, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So we need to have the exact same thing for our people. You know what I'm saying? The ISUPK, we do have it. We love being around our people, our brothers and sisters, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's an excellent scripture, if I could, man. Just talking about brotherhood and coming together. And now we're going to get into the Hebrew. Yano, you have something?
No, I just wanted to, say something in general because,
please,
like the Elamites, right? You mentioned the Elamites, right?
God.
And so when you study their histories, they didn't have a caste system until they came in contact with the Edomites. Right. That they were the ones that implemented the caste system with them, that put colorism into the way they get down.
Got you.
You understand? And they've done the same thing here in America.
That's right. I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. You know what I'm saying? When somebody comes amongst you and conquers you, you're going to start adopting what? You're going to adopt their way of thinking to some degree or another. You're going to adopt their ways. You're going to adopt their speech patterns. You're going to adopt their culture. And you know what I'm saying? The scripture says you can't have two masters. You're going to lose something in the process. You can't adopt somebody else's culture and keep your own. It's impossible. All right? So let's do this, man. Let's do a quick little alphabet review right before we get into what the heck is this? Before we get into this topic of the prepositions and the possessives. I wanted to talk about them in conjunction with one another. We're going to talk about them with roots and without roots as well. I got to use this green one because that black one is crazy. All right? This is. I got another black one. You got another black one? Yeah. Come on. This green one does work, but let's get the black one. Is it? Yeah. No sweat. I cleaned that board. Man, I had to scrub some of that green. Oh, salad. Okay, let me see a black one. Bob Kushar. I got one in my bag. Come. No sweat. We're gonna do a quick alphabet review. We're not gonna take too much time on it. Like I said, I want to get to these prepositions, possessives, and the vocabulary. Some of these words. Starting at the very, very beginning, the water, brother, just like we did in grammar school, you know what I'm saying, grade school. So let's go. So we're going to do ancient first, right? And what I want everybody to do as well, while we do the ancient, let's also recall the different pictographs, right? What each symbol represents. We're not going to write all of them down, but I am going to ask about a few of them. about what symbol, what does the symbol represent? Because as we know, every single Hebrew letter, every single one is representative of something. None of these letters are arbitrary. None. Okay? So each of these symbols you're seeing represents something. And as we said before, many of them had a symbol prior to this that would be a little more of a detailed version of that thing. Let me see the screen, make sure y'all can see them letters good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Not bad. Okay. A more detailed version of these symbols, okay? But there's a little thing. I want somebody to read my mind. There's a little thing, we talked about it. Why some symbols had to be more simplified. Why did the symbols have to be more simplified? I'm looking for a word. It's a word that should be very familiar to everybody tuning in, right? Everybody in the class. Why did these symbols, or some of them, many of them, have to be simplified? To give an example, we always give this one. Bear with me, you know I'm not the best artist.
Silaki, sir.
Please, go ahead, young man.
Yeah, why the symbols were simplified, I think I remember you saying because it was going to take too much time to make it more complicated.
Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. But I'm looking for a word to describe what this is compared. So I'm going to draw this symbol, right? I'm going to draw this symbol. Baba Kusha, again, don't judge me. Salakia. Let's see the original form. Okay, here we go. The original would have looked something like this. That's the original It turned into this. Why? What do you call that thing that makes this a better option than this? I'll be impressed if you say the word I'm thinking about in my mind.
Simplification.
It's a word that's, think about the process. Like the young man said, absolutely correct. Think about when you're writing a grocery list. You got to give, you know what I'm saying? You got to give your son or somebody a grocery list, and you got to write down everything you guys got to get before the store closes. And you're trying to give them a grocery list, and you got to write this instead of writing this. You got to meticulously write this symbol instead of writing this. This is more what?
You think it's like a shorthand?
That's like the more technical phrase. Yes, but like, what's the
easier?
You're all right, but if I want to say it, it's a word very much related to One West. Very much related to this school. Not quite. This is way more blank than that.
More practical then?
Give that brother a hand. Practical. God. This is way more practical than this. It is impractical to draw a damn bull's head every time you have to write an It's a lot easier to just say, okay, I need you to get this. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot more practical to write it in that way. So that's how these symbols became the norm. The water, young man. That's how these symbols became the norm and the most practical, form. Okay. Most High in Christ. So now also let's get these pronunciations as well. Always to refresh our memory. The water for the black marker, Yanazar. Because I was dying over here. The other one was crazy. Okay. Remember that each of these symbols is a what?
Pictograph.
They're a pictograph for sure. in terms of how they're utilized, not grammatically, but what kind of letters are these? You understand? This alphabet is comprised of what kind of letters completely and totally?
Slacky, sir.
Go ahead.
All consonants?
All consonants. Damn right. All consonants. That's what every single symbol here represents. Every Hebrew letter, whether in ancient or Assyrian, is a consonant. That's important because if you don't know that, fake Israelites, Christians, you know what I'm saying, the so-called Jewish man, right? And just, people who don't know the Bible in general, who don't know the culture of the Israelites in general, will have you believing that any of these can become a vowel. And that's not possible. It has never been possible, and it never will be possible. Every symbol here is a consonant. As we stated before, we're talking again in terms of functionality, right? We're not talking sonically. We're not necessarily talking about how they sound, okay? Because you can get a vowel sound from some of these symbols, but you will never ever get the function of a vowel. Meaning what? Meaning in other languages like English, we'll say think of a good word, car. In the English word car, what is the vowel in this word? The A, right? And this vowel is the nucleus of this what?
Syllable.
Syllable. There we go, Yanazar. This syllable is dictated by the presence of this vowel. Without this, you wouldn't have a word. You can't, this would not make any sense in English without this symbol to alert you. So, hey, this is a syllable right here, right? In Hebrew, we don't have anything that you need to alert you to that. Okay, I don't want to. The camera's right there on top of that tote. Just letting you know. Yeah, I put the camera in that tote. Come on. Oh, come on.
I don't know if we covered it, but I'll put it in my car tonight.
Come on. It's like,
yeah, I just take it home. So I.
So we can start it early here? Okay.
Because of my situation, I'm not going to be able to get down here that early.
No. We said we can just start earlier than you. We can start the Sabbath service here at, say, 8 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? Finish it like, say, 9:30. We can make our way.
Yeah, I don't have no problem going there. I tell you.
Oh, Con, I see what you're saying.
Like my daughter got to come over. Like last week at camp, I had to wait for my daughter to come.
No sweat. I feel you. No sweat. So you basically gonna go by yourself to travel to get down there.
Yeah,
I got you. Okay, no sweat. I'll give mine, y'all. No sweat. Salaki for that.
I gotta wait.
No sweat, bro.
I'll tell you what happened.
Kanye, we'll talk about it.
Like what I'm saying, like if you need me to take the speaker and stuff, I could put it in my car tonight. Yeah, because I got to come this way and then go back. I would have to come here and then go back. Whereas they're gonna come Yeah. If y'all need me to put something in my car tonight, I can do that.
No sweat. Salakia for that. Salakia. Let's get back to this, right? So what I'm saying is, functionally, this is how a vowel functions in English. This is what it's used for. To give you just a visual. In Hebrew, the equivalent of this would look like this. Okay? If English functioned how Hebrew functions, words would look like this and not like this. Okay? It can throw people off at times, but it's very important to understand that. Why? So that way you know that when people say certain things, because guess what? They will lie to you and tell you that this can be used. Some of these symbols can be used as vowels. Go ahead, please.
That's at the core of the Yiddish pronunciation, man.
That's at the core of the Yiddish pronunciation. In Yiddish, I just saw another word like that the other day. What word was it? What word was it that I saw and I was like, oh yeah, that's that damn, that whole Yiddish thing. But the famous one everybody knows is what? It's shalom, right? But let me see if I can find it on my phone. Go ahead, bro. Tov. Yeah, that was one. That was it. That was it. The Hebrew word, so I'll write it in, this is the word in Hebrew. And we'll just use ancient for now, since it's what's on the board. We got a ta, and we're writing from right to left. A ta, a wa, and a ba. We pronounce that tawab because we know that every symbol is a consonant. None of these symbols can do what this A does here. This A is essentially in English a connector. This A connects the C and the R to make it go car. We don't have a symbol that does that. So we know these connectors here is what tells us when something is a syllable on its own, ta, and when two consonants form a syllable together, wab. There is no symbol between these two. We just see a ta, a wa, and a ba, and we go ta, wab, because we know that there's only one quote unquote vowel sound, which is the short A sound. Right? But fake, I don't want to get my video flagged. The so-called Jewish man, he says, no, this wa, the wa, can turn into an O sound or an O. And so now what was once Tawab, quite literally, it was Tawab before. Tawab. Now that they say, oh yeah, this can become an O and be a vowel, it can connect other symbols. Now they just take the T from here. They say it's a V, but it's a B. But they say it's a V. So now they say, no, that's not Tawab. That is Tov. Right? And that's how they get what? Mazel Tov. What's the other one? Like something, I think when they say something, good morning is something, something Tov or something, right?
Mazel tov.
Yeah. Mazel Tov is one. There's another one. Something with a B. Tov, because it's saying good to them, right? And then we also have what? What's another one that's like this that we saw? We talked about it last week. Let me get rid of that. The name there, Salakia. Get rid of the display name. Come on, so I can see that. They also say They also say you can do you can take this word. I gotta rewrite this. Yeah, I don't want to mess with that. I'll write it up here. Kind of cut this off. They'll say that you can take the word. What's the word for day? Yawam. Yawam, right? Which is spelled with a ya, a wa, and a ma. Yawam. But they'll say, oh no. This wa again, see, the wa can become an o, so it can be what? I'll put it over here. They'll say it can be yom. Yom. Because they're saying that that wa can be a vowel. It can connect other symbols to form a syllable. But that is not true and that is impossible. No letter in Hebrew can connect other letters in Hebrew with other letters in Hebrew. That is a fat lie. That's crazy. That's crazy. It cannot happen. It'll never happen. You cannot say yom. You cannot say tov. And a lot of other ones that they try to do. The wa, and you cannot say shalom. You cannot say shalom. If there's a wa there, then the word is what? If there's a wa. If there's a wa there, then there's a wa there. Period. Right? If you see wa, because guess what? Shalom might be a word. If the wa, when you put the wa in a word, it forms, like we say, the ing form, right? Or you might say it forms the action form, the verb form of a word, right? So, that being said, that word might be a word, but it's just not a greeting. That's what we said before, right? We made that very clear distinction. Shalom might be a word, but it is not a greeting. It is not, you cannot and you will never see anybody greet anybody in the scriptures by saying shalom. It doesn't make sense. The greeting is shalom. It is the root word meaning peace. It is the word from which we get whose name? Solomon. Solomon's name is what? Shalamah. Shalamah. Not Shalawamah. It's Shalamah. So this is a good just to get you to understand how this vowel thing works. So when you hear us say there's no vowels in Hebrew, we're not making it up. There's no vowels in Hebrew. No yom, no tov, none of that. All right. Most High in Christ. Now, let's talk about these connectors real quick. Like I said, we're not going to spend too much time. After the connectors, we'll go to the Assyrian. Like I said, if anybody has any questions, make sure you just go ahead and just type it into the chat. Okay? Or, I know the young man is in the class. Bro, all you got to do is just say Salaki and I'll hear you. You know what I'm saying? I'll try to answer your question. Okay? So, now, instead, what we just use is connectors, right? So we'll just keep it real simple. We'll use a word, a common word, right? In Hebrew, you'll hear us say all the time. You'll hear us say thawada, which means, thank you, right? It essentially means thank you. So if I write it out I'm gonna write it out in the transliteration first. I'm gonna write it out with English letters first. This is how you spell it, right? And you just sound it out. And this will also help you when it comes to reading the Hebrew, right? So it's thawada. All right? Thawada. Now, also, real quick, this ha symbol. Well, let me spell it out first and then explain. So thawada, right, which is thank you or thanks. Right? Will be written like this. There's a tha. You see how you literally can just see each symbol here. There's a tha, there's a wa, there's a da, and there's this H, so it has to be a ha, right? So we'll write it as such. Tha, wa, da, with the ha at the end. Now let me say this. The the wa, excuse me. Slaki, the ha at the end. This ha is not silent. I'm going to say it again. This ha is not silent. Okay? So you'll hear brothers say it and they say the water. And it'll seem like there's no ha there. There's no other sound. It's just the water. Remember, again, many of us, we're learning a new language. We've been speaking English our whole lives. We've been speaking English. We've been speaking English taught by people who spoke English, taught by people who spoke English for the past, hundreds and hundreds of years, right? And even, the brother, the young man on the live, right, in the class today, is in the Bahamas, from the Bahamas, right? You got brothers, Captain Nayathat is from Trinidad. You know what I'm saying? You got Kayad one and Abadal one from Jamaica. You got brothers from different places. We all speak English, but different dialects, right? So it shouldn't surprise people that everything don't flow the way it should, because we're getting our language back after really thousands of years. We're getting our language back. But this ha makes a sound, right? When you say thawada, there's a breathy into it. That ha sound should be there. Any word that ends in a ha should have that. It's thawada. Okay? Think of it almost like we talked about before, the relationship between the ka and the ha. The ka is a strong k sound. The ka is similar but softer. So if you take the ka and soften it, it becomes ha. If you take the ha and soften that, it becomes ha, right? But now imagine that ha without the ah part. Ha. It's like a breath. Okay, it sounds funny, but that is there. Okay, that's the ideal, proper way to use it. So when you say thawada, that's how it should go. Thawada. There's a breathy end to it. It's not thawada. It's thawada with that breath at the end. Okay. Again, we're not used to it, but we have to learn it. You know what I'm saying? So we can get familiar with it. So when the time comes, we're speaking it appropriately. Okay. But here we go. Thawada, right? Thawada. How many syllables are in the word thawada? This should actually, if you really think about it, going back to what we just had on the board about vowels, this should be almost like a signal to you. Should help.
Lucky, sir.
Please, go ahead.
3.
John, 3. Now, of course, you could just hear the word Thawada,
Water.
Thawada, and count it. But what's another way to know how many syllables there are? What's another clue on the board? Specifically, what's on the board? What clue is there to how many syllables are in the word Thawada?
I think there's an A attached to each of the syllables.
That is, get that brother a hand. Damn right. Get that brother a hand. That is absolutely correct. Because why? Because transliteration means we're what? We're writing this Hebrew word in another language. We're specifically writing it in English. And we just talked about how in English, they use vowels to signify what? To signify syllables. They use vowels as the nucleus or the center of a syllable. So it's not always the case, not always. But if you see 3 vowels, in the case we're using because in Hebrew the only vowel sound is short a sound. You see 3 of them, 1, 2, 3. Then guess what? That's usually how many syllables it is. Now the beauty of that is if there's 3 syllables, how many connectors will there be when we write it in Hebrew, in ancient Hebrew specifically? If there's 3 syllables, then we know there's how many connectors?
Lucky, sir. Should be 3 connectors.
Damn right. It's going to be 3 connectors because that's what they're for. That's the purpose of the connectors. The purpose of the connectors is to do the job that in English vowel letters do. The purpose of the connectors is to do the job that in English vowel letters do. We don't have vowel letters. We don't have something written in between each letter, each consonant to tell us, oh, that's a syllable, that's a syllable, no. We have these connectors underneath that tell us what? Tha, this letter carries its own syllable. Tha. Wa, this letter carries its own syllable. That's the symbol. This one, when it's like a frown, tells us this letter carries its own syllable. I don't want to kind of a tongue twister. This symbol carries its own syllable. But then when we see what? Okay, tha, wa, that's 2 syllables. Thawada, thawada, thawada. Oh, there's 3 syllables. There's 3 syllables. We already did 2. We only got 1 more syllable to go, but we got 2 symbols. So that means we have to do what? We have to connect them together. These 2 symbols have to form a syllable together. And so we don't do like in English where to do that, to say fan, to take F and this letter and say fan or fun or fin, we got to put a vowel in between. In Hebrew, we don't have vowel sound options. There's no O, there's no E, there's no U, right? There's none of that. So we don't have to even think about it. It's called unambiguous. We don't have to try to figure out which vowel it is or which vowel sound because it's only one. And so we don't need that. All we need is what? This. That's all we need. Tha, wa, da.
Silaki, sir.
Please.
I have a question.
Come on.
Will we see the ta without the circle around it?
Say it one more time.
Will we see the ta without the circle around the X, the symbol?
Come on. There is no ta without a circle around it. If you talk, you mean the tha?
Yeah, the tha.
The tha, it looks like a ta without a circle around it, but they're not the same symbol.
Okay.
Yeah, they just the tha, because really, even though there is a slight difference, because the tha is not a perfect X. The tha, this is not a tha. That's not a tha. A tha is this. That's a tha. Actually, I wrote it backwards. My bad. Let me write it the right way. I don't want to confuse anybody. Where am I at? Make sure I do it right. I don't want to confuse y'all. Right. A tha is like this. One line is longer. There you go. Okay. So no, they're not the same. They're related for sure, but they're not the same thing. And that goes back to what we said about what the pictographs. What the pictograph of a what is a ta? What symbol is that? Not to get too far off track, but what the symbol of the ta in the ancient, what is it supposed to be? Please, Yanazar. Supposed to be a basket, right? That's what it is. It's think of it like a wicker basket from you're looking at it from like above, right? You got a wicker basket with some handles that cross over each other, right? And look like that, okay? That's what the ta is. Whereas the tha is just representing a mark. It's to designate, or think of it like X marks the spot, right? To designate, okay. Like imagine you writing something or you drawing something and you want to say, yeah, we're gonna go right here. Wow. That's what it's a mark. Okay. They're related, but they're not exactly the same. Okay. But does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah, you just want to make sure, not to mix them up. You know what I'm saying? If you don't see this, but yeah, you might have a brother who's his handwriting, you know what I mean? He might write it a certain way where it'll just look like an X. So if you don't see the circle, but you see an X and they're saying it's ancient Hebrew, you know what I'm saying? Then yeah, they're probably trying to draw a tha. They're probably trying to, but the ideal thing to do is to write it appropriately, which would be more like this one, right? Not like a perfect X. It shouldn't be like a pure, like a box. Like this X, you can damn near put a box around it. It should be elongated on one side. Okay?
The
water, brother. Now, again, the water, we got our syllables. We have our syllables. So that is how our words in ancient Hebrew function. We once we know the syllables, man, like we're good to go, right? We can do this with many other words, right? We can do, and the beauty of it is we can go in the opposite direction too. If I write, let's see, if I write something on the board, let's say, let's do this. What if I write, I'll write this word. Y'all might know what this word means. Y'all see that word? How many how would I write that word in English? How would I spell that word in English? That's what I want. I want somebody to transliterate that for me. Tell me what to write. Tell me what to write in English to transliterate this word. So we went from the transliteration back to the Hebrew. Now let's go in the opposite direction. We have the Hebrew. I want the transliteration. What should I write? You tell me and I'll write it down. It might be in the office. If y'all can tell me what the word means, I'll be more impressed as well.
It's lucky, sir.
Good, young man.
We give it a shot.
Please.
SANAR.
Is that correct?
I think we have one.
Does this symbol right here, is this a na?
That's a Ra.
Right. And what's this?
That's a Na.
Correct. So, is this correct?
No.
La, right?
Yes.
Why?
It's backward.
There we go. It's backwards.
Yes.
Right. No sweat, brother. It's backwards, right? So the proper way is Sarun, right? Sa, we see that it's there in totality by itself. Sa, one syllable. And then we see that these two Hebrew letters form a syllable together. That's what this symbol means. They form a syllable together. So this is a Ra, this is a Na. Ra and a Na together is what? Run. Sa, run. And what does that word mean? The water, brother. Damn right. Sarun means captain, right? Captain. So, you know what I'm saying? You'll hear in the prayers when we do the prayer for the blessings, you'll see here, Ha Sarunyam. Ha Sarunyam. That means the captains. That's what Ha Sarunyam means. Okay? Most High in Christ. Well done. Now, I can get into the pictographs. Let's just do the Assyrian. Let's get into the Assyrian. Everybody Tawab. Hope so. Moving right along. Okay. All right. Okay. Good to go. All right. All right. So here we go. Tripping. Okay. All right. There we go with our Assyrian letters. And also remember this. With your Assyrian, you have got to know that at the end of a word written in Assyrian, some symbols have a different symbol, right? So the ka is the first one. This is the symbol for the ka at the end of a word. Right? Then the ma at the end of a word is like this. Right? The na at the end of a word also has a different symbol. It's like this. Right? Then we have the pa at the end of a word is like this. That doesn't seem right. There we go. That's the pa at the end of the word. And last but not least, we have the tazah, which is like this. Okay. Now, as we know, unfortunately, with the Assyrian, we don't have the luxury of connectors. That's just something we don't have. All right. But we make do. Okay. So when you see this in Assyrian, what's that word? What's this word? Anybody say it? I know you know what Yanazar.
Slacky, sir.
Please.
Sharan, the same word as the last.
Khan. Sa-run. You don't want to say Shah because there's another, some of the Shah is a different letter, right? But you're right. Sarun.
Saran. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Saran.
Sarun, right? And Sarun, you know, when you see this in the Assyrian, you're not going to have connectors to make it easy for you because you may see this and you might be like, well, it could be Sarun, it could be Sarana, right? It could be Sarna, right? Like there's a few different combinations of connectors you could come up with, and you won't know it because there's no connectors. You just got to know your words well. You got to know, well, that looks like Sarun. I see, I know the word Sarun, and especially if you read the English ahead of time, and you know that in the English it mentions something about captains or something about some military rank, and is listing different ranks, then when you see this word, you should automatically be like, oh, Sarun. Okay? So now, with our prepositions and possessives, very simply, what we understand as we see them right here, right? These are possessives and our prepositions. Okay? And all they do is, or part of their job is you know, like I said, to make, how I say it, to kind of spatially define things. Everything is defined by what it is. Everything that something is defined by what it's not. Okay? Like a person is a person because they're not what? A frog, right? A rock or what have you. And so in order to really speak in detail about life, you have got to be able to describe something as where it is, what it's connected to. You have to, in a sentence, you have to describe it amongst other things. Okay? So I have to literally, for the sake of context or the sake of you put up the white table if you want to real quick. You sure? Okay. Let's make sure the door is locked. Come, most high in Christ. Count, you good? But yeah, literally, to even make sense of the world around us, we have to have these things. If I tell a story and I'm not able to define, well, whose house that is, whose car that is, where that table was, where I was, whose sister that is. If without those identifiers, we couldn't speak accurately about the world we live in. We couldn't accurately, you know what I'm saying, transfer meaning to each other. And so that's what we use these possessives and prepositions for, again, amongst other great grammatical tools, which we're going to learn more about. But these are some of the most basic and useful of those tools. Some of the most basic and most useful of those tools. Okay. So like I got to rewrite something that got erased. Bear with me just a moment. Just a second. Where did I put it? No, I wrote it down. Okay, I think I got it. Think I found it. Nope, not that one. Nope. Okay. Salakia. Is this the one? This seems right. There we go. Okay. Did I already put? Yeah, I already put now on this one. Good to go. So I just have to write it out. All right. So before we get into the ones without a root, a root in between, we're going to deal with having a root. What do I mean by having a root? Okay, I'm going to erase the alphabet. What do I mean by having a root? I simply mean that these possessives or prepositions are being used in connection with a noun or a verb to form an inflection of said verb or noun, right? I'll show you this in the Blue Letter Bible. I'll show you where we'll see it in the Blue Letter, and they'll literally say to you how that's working. So let's go to Blue Letter Bible and let's type in we might try my son. I gotta get a good scripture. Okay, let's do this one. So this will go with, we're gonna use this. We're gonna do some odd vocabulary anyway, right? Who knows how to say father in Hebrew? I think it might be the first word in the Hebrew alphabet. Let's look. Let's look up the first word in the Hebrew alphabet. Go to in our concordance. We're going to go to the very beginning, right? You see? Dictionary. We have our dictionary of Hebrew and Aramaic words. And let's go to the very, very, very first word. Yep, there it is. So look. Look right here. See we're in the you see we're in the ah section. You see that very first word. Sorry, it's kind of in the corner there. That first word up there, the ah and the fa. Now they say it is ab. That is incorrect. It is abba, and it means father. Right? Abba means father. Okay. So we're going to go to this scripture. We're going to go to, in your blue letter, go to Genesis chapter 22 and verse 7. Now, I don't want to go too far off track, right? But recall, well, that's backwards. I'm tripping. Salaki. Y'all gotta catch me when I be making these mistakes. Toi? Okay. Abba, right? Now, you can go to Genesis 22, verse 7. But before we do that, just remember this, recall this. Everything in Hebrew, there's a rhyme. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason to the rhyme. There's a rhyme to the reason. Who can guess? I'll be impressed. What is significant about the selection of symbols that are used to represent this word, which is Abba, which is father? My question is, my statement was that everything in Hebrew, there's a reason to it. There's a reason to these symbols, there's a reason to these words, there's a reason to why, you know what I'm saying, these symbols together equal this, or these words together equal this. I said, what is the significance of these particular symbols, I'm talking mostly about the ancient here, in relation to this word, the selection of those symbols to mean that word. Why is that? What is the significance of that?
Shot, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
The ah, which originally represented a bull or a cow, represents power. Because if you had cattle and you had herds, you were considered a powerful or influential person.
We talked about that's where the word alawap comes from.
Khan.
Right. Go ahead.
And now the ba, being that it's a tent, right? It's like a tent.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's home, like you know what I'm saying? It's like that's where your home is.
That's right.
You know, where your dad is, that's home, so to speak. There's more.
Else? There's more. You said everything you need to say. Just put it together.
The origin of, like, with the eyes, like the origin or the beginning of, I don't know, tent, house, home. It's something I'm missing. I can't think of it right now. Come on.
Also, what? Okay. So the ah represents power, right? The ba is a home or a tent. What is the father in a house? He's the ruler of the house. Literally, the ah and the ba symbols together represent that he is what? He is the power of that house. He is the head of that house. You know what I'm saying? He's in charge of that house. Literally, it's in the chosen letters of that word. You know what I'm saying? And so again, with Hebrew, things like that happen all the time. There's always a reason. There's always a connection in some way, shape, or form to why that word is formed that way. Okay. So Abba, the head of household, right? The father. Genesis 22 and verse, what was it, 7? I think. Let's get Yanazar to read it in Genesis 22. So let's get Yanazar, read it in English first, then give it to me in Hebrew. Oh, no sweat. You read it in English, I'll get it in Hebrew.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 22, and verse 7. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?
What's happening here?
If I may,
please.
This is where Abraham is preparing to obey God and sacrifice his son.
Right. And his son is like, Dad,
where's the lamb?
Right. He knows fully well. He's seen sacrifices plenty of times. His father told him we were going to sacrifice. And he's like, but where's the lamb people to sacrifice? Right? That's what's happening. But now I'm going to read it in the Hebrew. Okay? In the Hebrew, it reads, Waya Amar Yatazakak al Abraham. Let me get from here, right? Abba Yawa, Waya Amar Abaya, Waya Amar Hananya, Banya, Waya Amar Hana, Haash, Waha Itazayam, Wa Ayah, Hasha, La Ilah. Okay, so how in this sentence did, right, Isaac, right, who in his Hebrew, his name is Yatazakak, how did Isaac say, my father? How did he say it? How, in Hebrew, what did he say? Anybody online? Or the young man, anybody know? I'm gonna read it again in Hebrew. Right? Waya Amar. It's like Waya Amar, Yatazakak, Al, Abraham, Abayawa, Waya Amar, Abaya, Waya Amar, Hananya, Banya, Waya Amar, Hana, Ha'ash, Waha Aitazayum, Wa Aya, Ha'ash. It's like Hasha, La Ilah. Anybody catch it? Please. He said, Abaya. Abaya, which means what? My father. Okay? Abaya. Abaya, right? Abaya means Abaya is my father. Right? We're in what? Genesis 27 and what again? 22 and 7 slot here. Right? Abaya, my father. And Abraham said to Isaac, he called him what? My son. How did he say my son? It's still in Genesis 22 and verse 27. Waya Amar, Yatazakak, Al, Abraham, Abayawa, Waya Amar, Abaya, Waya Amar, Hananya, Banya, Waya Amar, Hana, Ha'ash, Waha Aitazayam, Wa'aya, Hasha, La Ilah. Anybody? My son. There we go. My son is Banya. Right? So what we're seeing here is the usage of a root word and the inflection. Now, you'll see it. I'll show you on the blue letter. I told you I was going to do that too, right? Let me show you. So here we go. Like I said, I personally, when I go to blue letter, to read that I like to use now. They have it. It wasn't there before. They have the forward interlinear. Interlinear just means that it's written within the margins or within the lines. Okay. So you'll see it in its entirety right here, right? This is the whole verse in the Hebrew, in the Assyrian, right? But if you scroll down, if of all these options you click, right? You got forward, reverse, forward interlinear, reverse interlinear. Forward and reverse will just be like a list. See, if we click on that, it'll just list the words down like this, right? That's fine if you like that, but interlinear means it's going to kind of actually show it in between the lines so you can see it as you read, right? And the forward means that it's going to go in the proper order from right to left. If we were to do reverse, it would be the other way around. See? But we want to keep it, proper from right to left. So you see right this, the first sentence or first word, wa ya amar, right? And you see that little dash right there? You see that little dash between the wa and the ya amar? Right? That wa there is and. It's one of our prepositions. But let's scroll down, right? Wa ya amar and said, okay, and you see right here, Abba Yah, my father. Abba Yah, my father. And then right here, and under it, it'll show you the root word by itself. Abba. I know it's getting a little fuzzy, you know what I'm saying, because I'm moving a lot. So like, I don't have the most steady hand, right? But it says Abba underneath because that's the root word. And then under that little yellow bubble thing is showing you the inflection. If we click on that, it'll somewhat explain it. See, it'll tell you, you see the word, it'll say word Abba. Then this other part right here, it'll say suffix, pronominal, first person common singular. Okay, and you'll see the Yah. Pronominal, what does pronominal mean? Pronominal suffixes refer to a person's or things and can be attached to nouns, verb, preposition, particles. A pronominal suffix nearly always functions as either a personal pronoun. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that we finding out their words they're using to describe the things that we see in Hebrew. So I always wondered, how is it that possessives can function as both a possessive and a preposition? Well, that's what the word pronominal means. We just found out. It says, because that was where I was going next, right? We didn't have time. I'm telling you, I'll be going too slow, Salakia. I'll be thinking I'm speeding through this, man. I'll be taking my time with these topics, man. Next week, we're going to get that vocabulary and those possessors with no root. We damn near at the end of the damn class, Salakia. You know what I'm saying? Bear with me. I'm going to get it right. But it says pronominal suffixes refer to a person's or things and can be attached to nouns, verbs, prepositions, particles, infinitives, even some particles. A pronominal suffix nearly always functions as either a personal pronoun, for example, I or me in English, or a possessive pronoun, for example, my, mine. That explains why, as we said last week, not only does the ya at the end mean my, but it can also mean me or I. Not only does the ka at the end mean your or thy as belonging to you, but it can also mean you, right? We talked about that before. And I think there's an example in this very sentence. Let's see if we're crazy. Let's see. We could be wrong, you know? Just a moment. Nope. We're absolutely correct. In the sentence, in the English, it says, Salakia, let me X this out. It says, And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, my father. And he said, here am I. Here am I. And if we scroll, we look, it says, right? So Abraham, Abba Yahweh, Waya Amar, Abba Yah, my father, Waya Amar, and he said, right? Oh, so let me see something that he said, because not to take away. No sweat. Right. Waya Amar, he said, where am I? Here we go. Here, right? You see, there's no real part for the, here's the I. They put the same word twice, right? Here, here am I. It's the Hanun. It comes from the word Hana, but you see right here, you see Hanunya. There's that Ya at the end. You see that? For I, Hanunya. If we click on that and do the same thing we did before, you got this particle. It's like a conjugated verb or something like that, from Hana to Hanun. And then we click on this other one and we see what? Suffix, Ya, pronominal, first person, common, singular. The same Ya that is used for my father and my son, except in that part, it doesn't say my, it says what? Here I am, or here am I. Okay? That right there, it proves that our possessives function in that way too. Not only, they don't only function as possessives, they also function as what? It's pronouns. I, me, you, them, us. Right? And going back to these roots, the importance, the beauty of learning that, even to end the class, right? The pronominal. If you want to look that word up. Right? That now makes it very clear to pronominal. You say a suffix that functions as a possessive or a pronoun. Let's prove it. Does anybody know what the root word, because we're talking about prepositions and possessives with roots. Does anybody know what the root word or the word is for love? Say what? Close. Very, very close. You're basically saying it. It's just not, there's no Yah. That's it. For love. Right? So then, how might one say knowing that the pronominal, these possessives can be used in other ways, not just as possessives, how might one say, love me? Right. Absolutely. Let's prove it. We're going to prove it in the Bible. So ahabya can be what? My love. But it could also be love me. Let's prove it. We are not, you ain't going to just say what we want to say. We're going to prove it in the Bible, right? Hold on. What's the Greek? I don't need the Greek. Give me Exodus 20:6.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 20, and verse 6. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's read that in Hebrew. It says, Wa Aisha. Read it. Wa Aisha. Chasad. La Alapium. That's thousands. La Alapium. La Ahabya. Wala Shamaria. Matazawathya. That's the end of it. Sa. It ends. Now, it says, unto thousands, la alapium, right? La ahabia, right? Again, in Hebrew, you'll sometimes, we talked about it last week, it says, of them that love me. But we, the proper way it's really functioning is to them. La at the beginning is like to. Right? 2 or 4. There you go. 2 or 4. So when we read this sentence in English and it says, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments, it's not much different than saying, and showing mercy unto thousands to them that love me, or showing mercy unto thousands for them that love me. Still makes sense, right? That's the they use of there, but really it's 2 or 4 and it still makes sense. But the word for that love me or love me is what? Ahabia. Love me, right? And guess so now if that means love me, how might we say love you? And that'll be the last thing before we clip it. Damn right. Beautiful. Ahabka. Hold on. It could be a habka, or it could be, what's another way of saying it? Similar. Same thing, really. But it's just in Hebrew, sometimes there's ways to offset. Like I got to ask Officer Hazahab about this. I'm noticing a pattern with this that I want to ask about. When it says, when the prefix, or excuse me, when the suffix is being used as a pronoun instead of a possessive, sometimes you'll see a buffer letter in between. Like you'll see ahab thaya or something. I'm wondering if, because from what I understand, love you is like, you can also say ahabyaka. Now that ya, anya ahabyaka, that ya is like a buffer letter. Okay. I want to ask about that. But yeah, so the ka at the end, same thing, but you throw that ya in there, just that just makes it look better. Right? Ahabyaka. Okay. The point being that all of these roots, there's a million ways you can use these possessives to make it make sense. There's so many ways. Okay. We didn't get into the next part, but next week we're going to talk about how we can connect these with no roots. Right? So how might I say, like me? Mm-hmm. Or from me. I want to say from me. My y'all, what about to you? How you say two or four? How you say two or four? La. How do you say you or your? There you go. To you, laka. There's no root word in between them. There's no noun, verb. It's just the pronominal mixed with the preposition, the suffix mixed with the prefix, and it still can be utilized. You'll see it all the time. Like when you see laka in our prayers, that's what it's saying, to you. Okay, and we'll see more ways that we can do that, man. There's a lot of, so I want to say pertaining to you, I can say what? Shaka. Pertaining to me. Shaya. You know what I'm saying? Pertaining to them. What? Shaham. We can connect all of these things in different ways. From me, Maya. From you, Maka. From him, Mawa. All day long, we can do that and utilize it and throw it in our sentences. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working on next week. You know what I'm saying? Excellent work for today. The water, young man. All right, we're going to go ahead and clip it there. So like I said, next week, we'll get the prepositions and the possessors with no root. We'll get more. I want to get at least 10 of the vocabulary, you know what I'm saying? And just kind of make sense of all this stuff that we've been talking about, okay? Are there any questions in the room or questions online? Or the young man, you got any questions?
Salaki, sir.
Huh.
Yeah, no questions. It's a lot to learn, but it's I'm loving it.
No sweat. Most high in Christ. The water, my brother.
The water.
No sweat. Okay, so if we all good with that, I'm gonna pass the class over to priest and officer Yanazar.
Security announcement. Isupk out of 1 West, 126th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohana. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or new sister comes to the school, they're off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to share themselves with the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head of the team to his brother or his sister. There's another 6-month period in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head commander. Time, which is a commandment, you can find this in Numbers 18 and 21 and Malachi 3, 8 10th in the Hebrew, and it's pronounced Ma'aisha. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you give to the Treasury Department of the Street Fund. Free will offer for free, not mandatory. Whatever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocation. Monday night will be the closing night of the Feast of the Tabernacle. It will be Monday, the 17th. Giving our partners to check on social media such as isupk.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUPK events and distributors. If your brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, including black boots, shirt, pants, headband, or scarf. And with that, individual, I imagine